So we are live. Hello guys. So we're just gonna wait for a couple more peoples and then we're gonna start. So just gonna share. So you're gonna stare at my face for a couple of minutes. Spam a bit. Okay. Okay. So after we've been like online after like so long, like there's no I don't think we're gonna do any physical meetup anytime soon, like because of the virus situation and everything, right? So we probably like take a safer precaution, nothing until end of the year. So end up like, okay, you know what, no choice, so I need to do it online anyway. So here we are, and we're gonna have a very good speaker today. Qamra is like volunteer herself, and like I actually like watched her like try to ask her to give a talk, and she was very happy to do it. And she have a very interesting topic as well, like how to do a quick like a filter on Instagram and stuff using a Spark AR. It's very simple. Like I tried it out earlier, and it's quite straightforward. So moving on for JuniorDev, we're gonna have like online session at the end of the year. It's like couple of speakers and Q&A panels, like just like talk crap probably like most of the time, and also quality talk like how we're gonna have it like today as well. So yeah, let's see how it goes. And we hope like everyone stays safe and like, things improve down the road. Okay, we have about quite a lot. Okay, let me post one more thing. Okay, we intro the before I bring her in. She's ready in the background. I'm just gonna tell you what it's about. This talk is about the Spark AR, and still since like Medica like a STEM talk, it's going to be like how you do a quiz style Medica team with a Spark AR. As if you heard about Spark AR, I never tried. I just only opened it when she suggested want to give a talk on Spark AR. I tried it out. It's like which is pretty quick, quite easy, and like straight away you can use it and stuff. So there's no reason for you not to try actually. So and what she's going to cover is an intro to Spark AR, face tracking, patch editors, script editors, and like she probably have like hands-on a bit as well. She's going to share, and I will share this to the group as well after that, after the talk, maybe tomorrow morning or something. Um, so you can create your own filter, probably using whatever, and impress your friends or something with this AR. So I'm going to bring her in. So here we are, Qamra. So you're in live now.
Hi.
Do you
Yeah.
feel free to tell more about yourself, like an introduction about you and how you do, and then you probably can carry on. So I'm gonna leave it to Qamra to carry on for the rest of the talk, and see you guys after the talk, perhaps. Okay, it's up to you. All to you.
Okay. Okay. So hi guys. My name is Qamra. Um, I've been playing with Spark AR for a bit to create augmented reality filters. Before this, I played a lot with Snapchat for Snapchat filters, and yeah, there's really cool things you can do with AR today, and I'm really happy to be able to share this to you. Okay, so I think what we should do is we should get started. The title of this talk is Introduction to Spark AR. we're basically going to help you, get started really fast with Spark AR. And there's some slides, and there also will be a walkthrough with the Spark AR platform itself. So if you want to download the slides and the Spark AR package, you may. The link is at the top. But it's totally optional. If you want to do the hands-on, you can. You can download Spark AR, you can download the Spark AR package, and you can open Spark AR and the Spark package and follow along with this talk if you want to. Or if you want to, you can just, listen and have a look. It's up to you. Okay. So let's get started. Okay, so I'll be presenting in between both slides and Spark AR itself, depending on what I feel like. And first disclaimer is I'm not an expert in Spark AR, but this talk is just designed to show you a few examples of things you can do with Spark AR and how to get started fast. So what is Spark AR? It's an augmented reality platform to create augmented reality Facebook and Instagram effects. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through how I made a Malaysian theme filter with changing makeup and a little quiz on top. You can find the filter on Instagram. I think the link is already there. And if you want, as I said earlier, you can download the package, download Spark AR, and open it up and get the same screen as me at the moment. And feel free to take things apart and change things and play. And if you want, you can also feel free to share us pictures of yourself with the filter if you change things around and things like that on this StreamYard or on Facebook. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to talk about getting around and navigating the Spark AR interface. So let's go back to Spark AR here. And you can see that, we have a lot of different tabs. So first of all, okay, I'm going to disable this because it's annoying me. So first of all, we have a scenes tab. And the scenes tab is on here. It's on the left-hand side. And in here, you can see everything that is in your scene, like everything that is, in your effect. And we can see objects in our scenes, like a face tracker, some face meshes for makeup, some flower objects and things like that. And also question pane, timer pane for where the quiz comes up. So this shows everything that is in your scene. Underneath the scenes, we have the Assets tab. And here you can see all the assets within our project. Whether or not they are in the scene, they are here. So you can see, things like, yes, there's objects like eyeballs and hibiscus, but you also have materials. You also have textures, and you also have things like scripts, patches, and blocks, which we will talk a little bit about later. So this is the assets panel. And then in the middle here, you'll be able to see something called a patch editor. And this is used to add, interaction and animation and logic to our effects. We will go into this a little bit later, but here you can see, there's a bunch of colorful objects connected together that will determine some logic behind your filter. Now, if you click on anything within your scene, let's click on a face mesh. You can see it here in the inspector panel on the right-hand side. And, you can see properties associated with that object. So, and in this makeup mesh, you can see, for example, there's a material attached to it. So this is the inspector panel. And the final thing I'll show you is the device simulator. And that's what you're seeing my face on at the moment. So it's generally a good idea, to try an effect before you publish it. And you can try your effect on your own face or on someone else's face. And I can also change what phone type I have on simulator. I can choose an Android device or an iOS device. And on top of that, I can also change, like, maybe I don't want to see it on my face. I want to see what it looks like on a man's face or a woman's face or a red-headed woman's face. So it's very good for testing your effects out on a variety of diverse faces and diverse, hair colors and skin types. So let's go back to the FaceTime. Okay. And now we're going to talk about objects, materials, textures. Sorry, I should say relationships. And we're going to talk about objects, materials, textures, and how things relate together, in Spark AR. So I'm going to show you in the Spark AR itself. Okay. So a texture is an image file that's used to help to define the appearance of an object in your scene. And what you do is you can apply textures to materials, and materials take textures and shaders to control how a surface responds to light. So here we have a face tracker, and in the face tracker there's a makeup mesh to show the makeup. And in the face mesh, which shows the makeup, you can see there's a material called Makeup Mesh 1. And if we look at this material, Makeup Mesh 1, we can see it's got a texture, which comes from an image file. So that is how, objects relate back to materials and textures. And the difference between material and textures is basically from the image file, and materials can contain one or more textures, as well as other things like shaders to control how the surface responds to light. Okay. So we're going to go in a bit more into the filter now. So this filter, if you make a kissy face, like, I don't know why it's not working. Hold on. My light isn't bright enough. Yeah, okay. If you make a kissy face like that, you should be able to change the makeup that this filter shows. So we're going to talk about how the makeup appears on the face, and how we use Patch Editor to make logic so that when you make a kissy face, your makeup will change. So we're going to go back to the slides. And we're going to talk about face tracker and face mesh. So a face tracker detects the position and orientation of the face of a person using your effect. So it responds to facial movements. And a face mesh is a 3D model that responds to facial expressions tracked by the face tracker. In this filter, we're using a face mesh to display like the word writing on the face. So all these words, they're appearing because of face meshes that you can see here. Makeup Mesh 1, Makeup Mesh 2, Makeup Mesh 3. Those control the writing on my face. And then the actual makeup, like the eyelashes, the lipsticks and stuff, is being controlled by blocks, which we will talk about later. And so we have a parent object face tracker with a child face mesh. And when the face mesh is a child of face tracker, it will take on any changes that happen to face tracker. So that means face mesh responds to facial movements detected by face tracker. And if you want to know a bit more about face mesh, we just talked about it. Face mesh has a material called makeup mesh 1, 2, or 3. And these materials have textures, which are image files. And if you want to know how to create these image files, what you do is, as you can see on this slide, you can create these, these textures in Adobe Illustrator. You can download face reference assets from Spark AR. You can design, the face texture that you want, and you can import it into Spark AR. So yeah, that's how the makeup is appearing. That's how the writing is appearing on my face. I have a face tracker, and then the face mesh is a child of the face tracker. Okay, next we are going to talk about the makeup block. So there's a lot of, there's eyelashes, there's lips, there's eyeliner on this effect, and it changes depending on which kissy face filter you're showing. So how this works is this is called a makeup block for the eyelashes and the lips. And blocks allow you to reuse bits of a project in Spark AR and to share with other people. So this was something that was imported from the Spark AR library. You can find it here. So someone made it already, and we can use it with very little effort. So this is a block. It's a combination of objects and assets and patches and materials and things like that. And together it achieves like a makeup effect. And you can just get this from Spark AR. You can import it into your project, and then it's there. And if you want to put it in your scene, you can just drag and drop it from the block here into your scene. And you can, configure your makeup. So if we look at the makeup block, I'm just going to change my makeup. So, okay. So you can see this is makeup 3. This is the third makeup option. And you can see the properties here. So this is all from using that makeup block. And if I want, you can see it's very easy to change my lip color to green or blue. I can also, increase my lip opacity. If I want to put some eyeshadow as well, I can. And there's a lot of things that this block enables us to do with the face. So, yeah. And if you want to know how the original, what the original logic someone put in the block was, you can double click on the block. So I double click on the makeup block, and it's going to open, the contents of the block in Spark AR. So if you are interested in knowing what the components of the block are, you can see it in here. Just double click on it and it will open another Spark AR project. Okay, so I'm going to close this because I don't need it. Okay, so that is the makeup block. Change this back to red. Okay. Okay, so now we know, we have 3 different face meshes for the writing on the face. And then we have 3 different makeup blocks for the eyelashes, the lipstick, and whatnot on the face. So the next question is, how do we put things together so that when I make a kissy face, it will automatically change the face mesh and the makeup block that is currently on my face? So we're going to start talking about something called patch editor. Okay. So patch editor in Spark AR Studio is used to add interactivity, logic, animation, etc. to your effects. And you can do this by creating patches that represent objects, assets, and their properties and connect them together in a graph. And it reminds me kind of like Scratch. You can drag and drop stuff, connect things to each other, and get the logic in your effect that you want. So the scene panel shows, sometimes you get a yellow arrow next to certain objects. And then in the properties, you can see there's a yellow arrow here as well. And these type of properties, they can be dragged into patch editor if you want. Okay, anyway, yeah, when a property has a small circle with an arrow next to it, it means you can drag it down into patch editor. So you can see, there's a lot of graphs with a lot of properties attached to a lot of objects in patch editor. And yeah, so some of these yellow patches, they're known as consumer patches because they consume signals. So they take signals from other patches and do something that updates your effect. And the patches in purple are called consumer patches because they're producing signals that go to other patches. So if we look at the kissy face effect, and I'm just going to refresh this. Okay, I'm going to go in here. And I want you to see that, we have a kissing face that attaches to a pulse that's on or off, that's attached to a counter, that's attached to a value. And depending on this value, the filter will change. So if I do one kissy face, you see the value between 0 and 3 changes to 1. And now I'm on makeup mesh 2. And this is now 2. And now I'm on makeup mesh 3. Because it can only the counter can only get values from 0 to 3. It now goes back to the value of 0. And you see this first makeup mesh is now visible here. So basically, it's about gluing patches together to get the logic that you want. And this kissing face patch is connected to face tracker. So when the face tracker detects a kissing face, it sends out a pulse. And the pulse goes to a counter, which continuously increases between 0 and 3, and then it starts again, not including 3. And then based on the value that comes out, visibilities of the makeup mesh and the makeup blocks that are showing changes. So now we're on 1, and then we go to 2, and 1 is no longer visible. And now we're on makeup 3. So in a nutshell, that's how I put things together for the makeup. Okay, now we're going to talk about how this effect works. So basically, if you open your mouth, you're going to get a Malaysian flag in the first makeup. And how this was done is we attached a plane with the material of the Malaysian flag. So I'll go back here. Let's start this again. So I can see here there's a plane called flag in mouth. So a plane is something you can place a 2D object on. So we have this for both the flag in the mouth and also for the question and the timer plane. Those are planes because there are 2D objects that's being placed in 3D space. So this flag in the mouth, you can see the material is a Malaysian flag. And how this works is you can see from patch editor here. Okay, so from face tracker, if the mouth is open, so if the mouth is open more than 30%, and I am on the first makeup filter, it will show a flag in the mouth. So that's how it works. So you can see when I open my mouth, this becomes visible. This yellow patch becomes visible. So I use mouth open patch, and the mouth open patch, measures the degree of mouth openness. So how many percent open it is, and I decided to choose 30%. You can also go with mouth open, like a true or false, whether the mouth is open or not. But I wanted to set it via a percentage. Yeah, so that is how patch editor is connected to show a visible flag in mouth or not, whether the mouth is open or not. Okay, so the next slide, I don't know if you noticed this, but there is a little lighting effect going on in this filter. And it's based on the colors of the Malaysian flag. So I'm gonna go to the light canvas. Okay, so what we have on our scene that allows this to happen is we have a canvas with a rectangle as its child. And this is used to create a flat 2D object that can be rendered on the screen. And then the material for this light rectangle gradient is called gradient light. And this material gradient light, which is over here, has a texture. And you can see this is a yellow arrow. This texture is in patch editor. So the texture of gradient light is being controlled by patch editor. And I'm going to make this a bit more obvious so you can actually see the light. So there's actually a bunch of colors like blue, yellow, red, and white. And they're slowly spinning around on our screen. So how this was done in patch editor is we have something called loop animation patch, which is here. And the loop animation patch is set for a continuous animation of the gradient, of this color gradient that keeps spinning around. And this loop animation, it runs continuously in cycles of every 10 seconds, which is the amount of time it takes for the gradient to go, for the gradient direction to do a full turn. So from 0 to 360 degrees, you can see here, it should take 10 seconds. And this loop animation, 10 seconds, one cycle, goes between 0 to 360 degrees, depending on the progress. It will rotate this 4-color gradient around. And then this 4-color gradient is the texture for our gradient light material, which is attached to the rectangle, which is attached to the canvas. So that is how this whole, like little spinning lighting effect was created. So I'm going to put it a bit less obvious now. Okay. So that is how Patch Editor was connected to get the gradient light effect. Okay, now we're going to go into eyeballs. In this filter, we have I'm sure you realize the eyeballs are not my natural color eyeballs. So we have eyeball object which follows the eyeball around, and we have special eyeball materials that is attached to the eyeball object. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this now. Let me just change the filter. Okay. So first, I'm going to talk about the eyeball object. So you can see our face tracker has a lot of children, and one of the children is eyeball left and eyeball right. And both of these eyeballs are actually eyeball objects, which you can see here in the assets panel. We have eyeball objects in our scene, eyeball left and eyeball right. So these eyeballs, they have a material which is called eyeball material. But let's talk about the eyeball objects themselves first, because there is a lot of logic to get these eyeballs to track my actual eyeball. So I'm going to remove this eyeball material for now. So you can see actually on my face, there's an eyeball object with no material that seems to be following my face around and my eyeball around. So what we do, with this to get this to happen is we have the eyeballs as children of the face tracker. So, and then what we have is we have this eyeball patch, which you can see here. So our face tracker has an eyeball patch, and then the eyeball patch takes both the left eyeball center position and the left eyeball rotation, which you can all see here. And so when it gets the eyeball positions and rotations from the eyeball patch from face tracker, it uses this to position the eyeball left and the eyeball right, both in terms of where they are in 3D space and also their rotation. So this is how it works. And if you look at eyeball left and eyeball right, you can see their position and their rotation is in Patch Editor because it's yellow, right? But you can also see that these eyeball inputs are coming from the face tracker. So our object will always be following and tracking the movement of the eyeball on the face. So we have two of these for each eye, eyeball left and eyeball right. And I'm going to put back the material for the eyeball, which is here. So that is how we place the eyeball 3D object and get it to follow our eyeballs around. Okay. Next, we are going to talk about eye color, the eye color block to change the color of our eyeballs. So we talked about blocks earlier, and what I'm using for to color the eyeball is called an eye color block. And again, it's a block, so you can see it down here. And it's something I got from Spark AR itself. So you can see, if you want to get it, you just click on it and you can import it. So this eye color block, it we have the eyeballs, and then eyeballs have the eyeball material, right? And we can find eyeball material here. And what we're using the eye blocks for is we're going to define the eye colors, and then the eye color will define the texture of eyeball matte, which is the texture attached to the eyeball material, which is attached to the eyeball 3D object. So that is how this is being set. So in our scenes panel on the left-hand side, you can see we have this eye color block. And we're going to look at it in the inspector panel on the right-hand side. And you can see this eye color block has a lot of eye colors that you can change. So I can change my eyes to be, this is purple, blue, yellow, whatever I want. So this is how it's being done. We set the colors in the eye color block, and then we hook up patch editor. So we get a texture from the eye color, the eyeball shader, and this texture is set to eyeball matte. And then as we know, the eyeball material here is being used by our left eyeball and our right eyeball. So we use patch editor to set the color, and then it's patch editor to set the texture, and then that texture goes to the material, which goes to the correct object. Okay. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to show you when it came to Spark Editor. And now what I want to talk about is about scripting in Spark Editor. Because a lot of things, yeah, you can use patch editor with. You just gotta hook things up in a graph, make sure you have the right input to outputs to control the logic of your effect. But scripting is really useful. What I've used it for in this filter is for the question and the timer planes to look at the time and decide what the texture of the question plane and the timer plane are, because I didn't really want to put that into patch editor. So I put that in a script, which we will go through. So just a reminder, we have a question plane, which you can see here. That's on top of my head. And we have a timer plane. And the timer plane contains the countdown. So it's changing textures every second to show you how much time you have to answer the question. The question plane is, it changes textures because questions change every 7 seconds. And then they've got to display the answer. And then after the answer finishes displaying, it's got to display the next question. So that's how the question plane texture changes. Okay, so we will talk about scripting, and the textures you can see below here. We have different textures for different questions, different textures for different numbers, and different textures for different answers. So back to the slide on scripting. Okay. So Spark AI uses reactive programming, a declarative programming model that uses asynchronous data streams. And this allows you to create relationships between objects, assets, and values. So what this means is, like, the engine behind everything doesn't have to execute code every frame when performing common tasks such as animating content or looking for user inputs or realigning a mask to a face. So if you look at this equation, like y equals 2x plus 4, in imperative programming, the value of y is set only when the expression is executed. So if the value of x changes later on in the program, y remains the same, and y can only be updated if this whole expression is re-executed. Whereas when we use reactive programming, we bind the value of y to the result of this equation. So this means that y updates automatically as the value of x changes without having to re-execute the statement. So that's the difference between reactive programming and imperative programming. So yeah, now we're going to look at the script. Okay, so we're going to look at the script from Spark AR. You can look at the script if you go to the Assets panel and you double-click on the script, and it will automatically open in your default text editor. So this is what the script is doing. Okay, so first of all, we're using the require method, and scripting is broken down into modules, with each module implementing a specific functionality. And this require method allows us to load modules into script so we can access APIs belonging to that module. And what we're doing in this part is we're just loading modules and storing them in variables for use later on in the code. If you want to find out more about each module and the functionality, you can refer to the scripting object reference in Spark AR to find out more. Okay. So after we've loaded our modules, what I did was I put everything into a massive async function. And yeah, let's just go through this. So everything in the script is about changing the questions and the answers on the question plane, changing the timer on the timer plane, changing all the relevant textures and stuff sort out the timing and the logic of that. So first, what we have to do is we actually have to find, we have to use this method called find first, which finds basically the scene object or the material or the texture that you're looking for. So I find question plane, timer plane, relevant materials, and the relevant textures. I use async and await so that all these things I need to find are not, undefined or missing when I execute the rest of the code. Because if they are, then my script will not run correctly and my effect will not happen. And then after I found all my main scene objects, I also find all the relevant textures for the timer, for my questions, and for my answers. So they're all found here. And then lastly, I have some, timer index, question index variables. Okay, and then what I do is I define time in milliseconds as 1 second. And now I'll go into some of the small functions in the script. So what we have here is a function called change timer. And change timer, basically, there's a countdown when the first question starts. It goes like 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So this, if the timer index is between 0 and 6, it will update the timer material to the right timer index. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because that's time for a question and it's time for the timer to count down. If the timer index is 7 or 8 or 9, I'm going to show an answer, and I am going to, change the timer material to, I think it's 0 or something. And if the timer index is 10, I will change the question. So this whole change timer is basically controlling the logic for which textures appear at which time based on the timer index. My next function, change question, holds logic for changing the question by changing textures on the question plane. So this every time we change a question, the question index increases. If it's the last question index, then we change the material. So question material.diffuse is determining a texture. So that's a congratulations message. You finish the quiz, and then you can stop the timer. But if it's not the last question, you've got to change the question material to the next question in line, which is in the question textures config array, and you also have to change the timer. Show answer basically just assigns the correct texture to the correct index in the answers texture config. So all of these are little helper functions, but what the main part of this code is we have an interval timer that calls the change timer function every second. So this is probably the most important line. And what we have here is we have an interval timer that calls change timer every 1,000 milliseconds. So it calls change timer every second. So because this calls change timer every second, you can see all the logic in change timer and all the functions change timer calls works for this effect. And then we also have a stop timer and a timeout, to stop things from running, because textures don't need to be updated anymore after the quiz is finished. Yeah, so that's essentially the main logic of what is happening inside scripting. Just a small thing you might want to know when you're scripting. I use the diagnostics module a lot, and I use it to log things that I want to know what the value is. So for example, in change timer, I always log like what my timer index is, right? And if you want to see this in Spark AR, you can see it in the console here. You can see that I'm constantly logging like every second what my change timer index is. Okay, so that's scripting and logging. And then there's just one more thing that I want to talk about before we finish, and that is bridging between patch editor and scripting. So patch editor and scripting bridging means you can pass information between scripts and the patch editor by adding shared variables. So if you want to share a variable between scripting back to patch editor, you need to use methods in the patches module. So you see here, we required the patches module for this, and we defined a Boolean called particle visibility, which was false. And this particle visibility stays false until the very last question index, where it becomes true. And when this becomes true, we call the patches module, we set a Boolean value called particle visibility, which is true. And then we stop the interval timer. And you can see in Spark AR, this in the script, we are getting a variable called particle visibility, which is a Boolean. And if you look in, I'm going to switch this back on. If you look in patch editor, you can see this is a variable from the script. So it's a scripting variable that we've imported into patch editor. So this particle visibility, which is true only at the end, it is true. It sets a pulse to turn on the particle flag, which is basically a particle system of all these Malaysian flags that looks like confetti after the quiz is done. So that is scripting to patch editor bridging. Yeah. Okay. So that's really it. Here's a little bit about me. If you want to see my Instagram filters, you can see them on at Qamra on Instagram. If you want to have a look, sometimes I update what I'm doing on my website, qamracodes.com, which is not updated super often, but sometimes there's things there. And thank you very much for listening to my talk. If you do, open the package, play with it, please send me pictures. I love to see, if you guys do anything cool with this, or, if you guys enjoy it, let me know as well. So thank you very much for having me, and thank you, Tavan.
Yep, I'm back right here. So it was a really good talk actually. Like I saw the comment section going people asking this really good, and they never knew about Spark AR stuff. So I didn't know much about Spark AR as well until she decided to give this talk. So actually, what made you have you actually published any filters in Instagram so far that we can use?
Yeah, no, I have some on Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, I have like a little tab in the middle. So some people have it for like the Instagram live videos, but I have one for Spark AR filters. So that holds all of the Spark AR filters that I've created on Instagram. And I had a friend telling me she was looking at her Instagram filters a lot, and she saw my name there. So she thought there was something wrong with Instagram filters. But I guess people I know as well, it propagates to them. So they see it when they look for Instagram filters too. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like you suddenly people want to use the filters by Qamra.
Yeah.
Why is Qamra suddenly there?
Yeah, no, she was like, is there something wrong? But yeah.
Probably they already block you and your name still appears there.
But yeah, no, it's really fun. It's really easy to publish stuff. It's just like I think a lot of stuff is just figuring out things and how to put them in materials and textures, things like layers, obscuring stuff, occluding stuff. You have to play around with it a lot and get your hands dirty. But I think it is really fun.
Yep, it actually looks fun and very exciting to play around actually, right?
Yeah.
But how long does it took you to get familiarized with this Spark AR? Is it one day, a few hours, you already know what to do and publish straight away?
Actually, I started with Snap Lens Studio. So basically, how this started was I didn't know what to get my friends for their birthday, so I wanted to get them like a Snapchat geo filter, but Malaysia didn't allow it at the time. So I learned how to make Snapchat filters to send to people for, let's say, happy birthday, whatever your name is. So I actually started with Snapchat, and last year for KL Fashion Week, for one of the designers showing, I did a Snapchat filter for her show, which was really cool, and that was flighted around Pavilion and stuff. So I had some experience using Snapchat Lens Studio first. Spark AR is it wasn't a big learning curve for me. But it's just tricky, and the more time you spend on it and the more that you see what other people are doing, watch videos and stuff, the more confident you'll grow with it and the more things you want to try with it as well.
Yeah. Correct. So I actually love Snapchat more, but no one actually uses Snapchat in Malaysia. So
yeah, I love Snapchat too. They have some really cool things.
Yeah. And you meant the Lens Studio, right? For Snapchat, it's called Lens Studio.
Yes, Lens Studio, yeah. So that is, I think they're faster. They're faster than Spark AR for some stuff. Some of the new machine learning stuff that Snapchat has is, they're first. I think Spark catches up eventually with them, but Snapchat is first for a lot of things. And for Lens Studio, it was before Spark AR as well.
Yeah, they pretty much started with it anyway. So I have one guy with a question, let me post this. So it's only for making filters, not like putting imaginary furniture or signboard. So what
Um,
do you?
I, I mean, like, I think if you want to create imaginary furniture or signboard, you could put it in a filter. Like, so what I'm talking about is a lot of the face filters at the moment, but they also have things like world filters where you can place an object in the world. And it's not just about face tracking, it kind of tracks the world around you. And if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to place imaginary furniture somewhere, you could try it in a world effect. Probably not so useful for the face, but you could definitely put imaginary furniture or a signboard in a world effect.
Hmm. So my other question is like, especially when you digital marketing and everything, right? Like, do we can track how many people are using the filter and everything, like for like create engagement or something? So,
Yes,
as
I
a
can.
business, it can.
You can, yeah.
So so
So okay, it's like this, yeah. You can, but it's anonymous, obviously,
okay,
and it's not very helpful.
it's not
If
helpful at
that
all.
makes
So
sense, it's not very helpful. For for me, I think it's a lot of trial and error. So you can see things like how many people this like impressions, which is not very helpful. And then you get like people who opened it and used it. You also get people who maybe saved it
yeah,
but didn't share it. So you have people that saved it, and then at the end you get people that share it. I don't think for me for I don't know, I just do it for fun, but for me it's not very useful. What would be more useful to me is if within the filter you can trigger some analytics. I mean, that stuff would be
yeah,
useful, but the general like conversion funnel of people saving filters and sharing filters, for me it's not that interesting. Yeah.
yeah. That's not so Facebook at all.
Yeah, and it's not very granular. It's all like lumped together. It's yeah. I think they can definitely improve the analytics.
Maybe it's still too early, just trying out with the
Yeah,
filters
or
and
maybe they just
because
don't like giving us analytics.
maybe you never
Yeah,
know. But I realized that some company in Malaysia actually sells the filters, like they sell filters to companies and help
yeah.
to create filters and sell. So do you plan to do that too?
No, no.
Actually, it's more fun when you
Really,
play around
no.
with it,
Seriously,
right?
I really just do this for fun.
Yeah,
I just think like I don't know. For me, it's a really cool way to like get something in my head, perhaps out there. So
yeah,
in quarantine, I was really bored, so I did some filters and I put myself in different backgrounds in different places. Like I have one called Quarantine Mermaid, where like you're like a mermaid on a beach. But for me,
yeah,
it's like more a sense of escapism, and it's just to be creative and stuff. That's what I actually really enjoy about it. Yeah.
yeah. I understand. It's pretty. I mean, it's fun. So you can play around with
Yeah.
your Q and A stuff, even like card game or whatever, right? True or
Yeah.
dare or something. Yeah,
But it is, I mean, it is really fun. And I also like, for me, it's also really interesting. So Instagram, like how this, like it kind of shapes society in a way, like social
yeah. You're
media
very free
and the
slow,
way
by the
things
way.
appear. Yeah. So, and the interesting thing about these filters is there's something called face deformation where you can make your face bigger, or your nose huge, or your lips bigger and stuff like that. But they've
Mm.
actually stopped allowing that for the most part because it encourages too much plastic surgery. But
Oh,
I
really?
think that is so interesting, yeah. Like technology and culture and how things shape each other.
Yeah.
Because now you're only allowed, I think, mostly to retouch, but the deformation is not really allowed because some people were doing, augmented
Like
reality filters with like cosmetic surgery and
yeah, yeah.
definitely enhance the face for that. But I think they just thought it was really unhealthy, so they've stopped allowing it. Yeah.
Okay. I think that would be the last question, right? So I'm gonna you wanna any say last word, but don't leave. I'm gonna put it down. I mean gonna remove you for a while, but don't leave. Just stay in the
Oh,
chat for a
okay.
while. So I'm gonna do a last word from you.
Thank you for having me.
And just watch out whenever your filter comes up with the name of Qamra, and you know who did that. Okay, so all right. Uh, thank you so much, Qamra. So we could pretty much come to the end. It's already 9:30. So we had a very good session, actually, like fun, exciting, and like something we can play around, and not so much effort needed from our side as well. Like this one, and probably you can make money if you're actually interested in making money of it. I know a couple of companies are making money creating filters, like, and I think for my side, it's just a pretty cool thing to do. So yeah, and moving forward, if you're interested to be a speaker, you want a feedback, you want to do a workshop, you want to do like something, but everything gonna be online, so you can reach out to me. Just find me, or just message me, DM me. If my response is slow, I'm sorry. So I'll probably like doing something else. So I reply you for sure. So and with that, thank you so much, guys. So we had a very good talk today. So, and I will share the how to create the steps and the files that Kamal shared with me. So I will share to messages to the group later on. If you're interested to look into this video again, it's available on the YouTube. So just go to the Dev Coming channel. Be there. All right. Thank you, guys. Good night.